been a really nice new moon in Taurus over here. I hope you have also been having a very nice new moon in Taurus. We're going to talk about it right now. Here comes Vanessa. Over to you, Vanessa. There we go.
Your hair just keeps getting nicer and nicer. It's so good. It looks so good.
I'm in the third week slump of
No.
your hair does.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No, that looks great.
I'm happy to receive this feedback. This is delightful.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Happy new moon in Taurus. How the F are y'all feeling?
Yeah.
How are you feeling, Vanessa?
It happened at 20 or 21 degrees. So it was opposing my Saturn, and I've been really, really tired. Like really tired.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just sort of like the relationship I'm having with so much confusion and change within my life, and everything's starting to open back up. Everything is like
Thanks,
still
Joe.
like up in the exactly. I'm obsessed with her hair. It's what I'm saying. Yes. So that's like the number one thing that it's affecting, because it's going from my career into my fourth house of the home.
Yeah.
So it's like this, yeah, and it's about to and Uranus is about to ping my Mars for the first time fully, and conjunct my midheaven for the first time fully.
So that's fun, because I feel like we're going to talk about how we're sort of collectively edging up to a number of changes featuring Uranus. But so are you on a personal level. Uranus coming through and just going. And you and I have been talking about, because it's been pinging your
Venus.
And
North Node.
Okay. Right. And then for me, it's been hitting all of my stuff in Pisces. It's been from Taurus. So it's interesting. Yes.
And your Mars. Yeah.
And yes, it's been dancing all up on my Mars for sure, and opposing my Pluto. So that's been really fresh. Fresh is how we're gonna describe that. Okay, yeah, opposing your Saturn. That's a lot. I definitely.
Yeah, but it was. What was it doing for you? It was sextile.
My fifth house natally, and then it's in my first house for my solar return, so that's nice. And it's also on my progressed and solar return Mars. So I woke up and made a buttload of candles today. And it was very
artsy,
productive. And I'm like, okay, this is very cute. Like I that I'm like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm making the candles, and they're just gonna be happy, and I'm gonna take a break, and so it's been less personally aggressive. So it's not opposing any of my planets, especially not Saturn. I'm so sorry. But the full moon was all up on my Pluto, so that's fine. And all up against my Mars. So I've been similarly tired, though. It's definitely this has given me like a pace yourself vibe.
It's in your fourth.
It's in my fourth cusp of fifth. In Placidus. And so I feel like there is a very sleepy vibe to this moon. For sure.
Is anybody else feeling this? I have been so exhausted.
So sleepy.
Like more than usual. Okay.
So sleepy. And in a kind of nice, when I'm sleepy at lunations, I often feel stressed because I'm like, but there's so much I have to get done. And this one's been much more like, okay, you have this work cut out for you, and we're gonna eat a snack, and we're gonna get
a snack. Get yourself sleepy as fuck. Oh my God.
Really weird, so tired.
And tired.
Gentler than the usual stress, which is interesting that it's all led by Gemini. Usually Gemini energy, and we're going to be talking about Gemini for the next month and a half, so it's fine. We're just going to get used to it. I would think that this moon being run by Venus and Gemini and ultimately answering to Mercury in its own sign and sort of preparing to retrograde too, I would have thought that it would be a little more hectic, or we're trying to get half awake all day, trying to get more done. And I'm very like relieved. So under the weather for sure. Yeah. I feel very relieved that it's a much more like we're here and it's not this antsy, anxious pace. It's almost this like, and maybe it's Mercury knowing that it's going to retrograde soon. And so it's kind of this like, you know what, like there is going to be a growing list of things to get done. And we're approaching eclipse season. We're approaching the next Saturn Uranus square. Things are about to get bonkers. We're going to have retrograde. So it is about to be all up in the air. True Gemini style.
Yeah.
But there's this feeling of like, we're going to get through it though. Like we're just, right now, there's no light. We can't see anything. It's a new moon. So like, there's no need to rush right now. Like, let's just get what we can do done today. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a beat. We're gonna just like, okay, and then you know what? We're gonna like keep going. We're just gonna get there. We're gonna get there. And I'm like so grateful. I'm just like, thank God, because I can't. Like, I'm just so tired.
Yeah. So, oh my! I've never. I mean, I'm an Aries moon. I have so much cardinal and then fire, and it's not like a lot. There's not a lot of water in me. So like, there's not a lot in me that's been like, take a nap. That'll solve problems. And like in the past couple days, that's been my go-to for the I don't want to think about it. Like, and also on top of that, it's just like I feel like being Taurus, Taurus, with the new moon is like so crazy on Earth, like so here presently that I just can't really think about the future right now. I have nothing to hold on to at the moment. And so it's just like, and I need to, I get a lot of stuff done before a certain time. And it's like, I feel burnt out. You brought this up in a caption that you talked about recently. And I've been reading this book. I think it's called Can't Even, and it's by a woman from BuzzFeed, and she basically puts together this entire experience of being millennials and like what actually happened, when we were being raised by our parents, what the economic system was at that time, what they were fighting for, what we stepped into, the debt that we acquired, and all that. Basically it's about the fact that we're all really, really, really burnt out. And I feel like this is one of those, times where it's like, especially in the areas where we're getting like a little bit more warmth. It's like, your body's starting to relax, and it's like this freaking like this marathon, So I just think about that with Taurus. It's just like, what are our skills? What are our talents? What are the things that we can offer the world and get money back from? And it's like, it's all so fragile because the moment it's the stock, finances and medical, anything with medical, anything with lawyers, and like, and those are the things that make all the money, and it's like everything else gets squeezed out. And like, these are the moments that it's just so ridiculously difficult to be anything but a secure job person. It's like you're beating us into capitalism again. It's just like, this is so hard.
Have you seen the labor revolution that's been taking place? All of the
everyone's like,
fast food places, all of the Dollar Generals, all of the like lower tier, bottom of the hierarchy, places.
Yeah.
Spaces,
the discount stores, the bargain stores, and
absolutely. And the very honest signs of like, this isn't worth it. This isn't life. This isn't worth it. We all quit. Like, we all walked out because Dollar General doesn't pay a fair wage, because Wendy's doesn't pay a fair wage, because you're making it so that we all have to have 3 to 4 jobs.
It's crazy.
Like,
it's crazy.
This is the breaking point that we've sort of spoken to, like, very hypothetically over the past several years. This, like, this can't keep going. And like,
you're like, how long are you going to hold us under
it's like, it's breaking. Or like how the restaurant industry is desperate because people are not willing to go back to places that are not willing to, like, they're saying we can't afford, with all of the safety precautions that we have to be taking now, we can't afford to pay workers more. And workers are saying, I can't, I won't. This is impossible. And it makes sense. This is the you know, we keep talking about like capitalism has to change and like what's the new system going to be, and there's a whole lot of breaking down that has to happen in the meantime. We can't just be, that's part of the problem, is that we're always thinking about what's next. We're always thinking about what to do and how to fix, and I have the next idea, I'm going to implement the next plan, this is how we're going to cut costs, and I have all the answers. And it's like, some things need to decay. Like, I mean, this also probably ties into our Pluto return that we're coming, you know, we keep edging closer to, and having come exact next year, right? So this isn't working. That's definitely a Pluto concern. This is unsustainable. We're breaking down.
Exactly. It's
50 hours a week, 10 to 12 hour shifts as a cocktail waitress, no breaks, no benefits. The restaurant industry can go fuck itself. Absolutely. Vanessa and I have both spent 15 years working in the restaurant industry.
Exactly.
I got to college, I was working in a deli, you know, 15 years straight, and it was literally taking a toll on my body. I've had chronic illness for as long as I can remember. I like haven't, you know, the way that it takes a toll on your body. People don't eat for 8 hours at a time. People are on your, you know, you're on your feet for hours. Like, this is everything falling apart. Lets other things fall apart. So this is why capitalism is like, we have to have things running constantly, so no one knows, so that nothing starts breaking down.
Right.
But it took this past year. Yeah,
she said in this, that's funny you say that, she said in this book about being burnt out, like that as this millennial culture, we've also just been taught to kind of default to work, and that's how we de-stress ourselves. And I read it and I was like, what that, I mean, no, I sit on my couch and I eat ice cream and I watch, you know, whatever. And I was like, but how many of the, like, the things that you watch, you think you're also learning something from, or you wanted to be informed on, or you want, you know, and it just never, ever, ever stops. Something always has to be absorbed in some kind of way that's that I can use later. And I've been trying to, like, I guess, challenge myself to just reading more fiction, or reading things that are just more built around just your own artistry, or the imagination, because it is just this constant need to, like, okay, the thing that's going to make me feel less stress is by stressing myself out more, you know. And it's just this burnout. It's depressing.
And if we accomplish, then we feel safe, and we also know we're going to get paid. And
now there's no pay there, though. That's the thing. It's like it was so
we're
rewarding before, because they had if you invest longer,
you didn't know any better either.
Of course.
But
right. But compared to now, we are the most straddled with debt. We are the most straddled with, there's never been a generation with this kind of student loan debt. I mean, like, this is unreal. We're the very, I can't remember what it was.
No one had to fight for debt forgiveness like this.
Yeah, no, I mean,
previous generations,
there wasn't a thing. There was no debt. Like, I mean, it's just, it's just crazy. And like now, see, you know, what our parents had to fight for. I mean, our parents saw civil rights laws put in. I mean, like,
my
that's
mom
how,
was
like,
elite. Like, her existence was illegal. She was
exactly.
Like, that's how at a time when that was illegal.
Yeah, that's how recent a lot of this stuff is, and that's what they were fighting for. That's the thing. But when they were, you know, when the workforce really opened up in the 80s, women really started getting to go to work, and things really started to change in that way. But you could invest in a company, and that company would move you up the line. And like, that's the whole fucking thing that they, like, basically said was, if you really put your energy in and you invest, then something comes out of it. But like, it all changed. Everything, especially after the recession, the stock market was just like the number one way people were gambling with everything. And it's just like, all corporations, what's that law that was passed, name it, where it made corporations human beings, or they supposed to, and so like, you can just, the amount of jobs that have been cut, the amount of like robots are coming in and like completely sweeping in a lot of ways. That's going to be crazy. I mean, look, if you go to like CVS, go to Target, how many registers aren't human beings anymore? Like, that's what's sweeping.
Well,
and there's no,
because I'm buying all so they don't let me get to the robots. No, that's very real. And I saw this meme today that was like, you know, boomers,
Citizens United.
Boomers got to go to school for the price of like a McChicken. Like,
Yeah. They have sliding
and have
scales
never,
places.
and like they didn't even have to. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't a requirement to go to college. It was, you could just get a job and, as you were saying, climb this ladder, show your
Yeah.
loyalty to this
And
company.
unions became a thing, and then they started dismantling
Absolutely.
unions, and that was a big problem. You
Yeah.
know, it's Citizens
Capitalism.
United. That's what it is, Citizens United.
But
Yeah.
no,
It's like
absolutely.
now we don't have any of the same protection.
Well,
They're even talking about privatizing Social Security.
I mean,
Which is
what you're
like,
describing feels like the continuous Saturn-Uranus cycle, which is that
yeah.
there is always it's a cycle of events. There's always something with the stock market. There's always a wage crash. There's always a land crisis. There's always some environmental crisis, and there's always some sort of legislation created that allows corporations to keep cutting corners so that they can save money and putting it on us, putting the bearing on us. I mean, no wonder like pyramid schemes are really coming back with a vengeance right now. And like on a holistic level, like doTERRA and all of the we're gonna force you to go into debt so that we're going to force you to keep buying these products so that you maintain membership in this very lucrative pyramid scheme. And it's like
that we make money off of you for, because you have to buy the product.
We're desperate. This is what this cycle entails. It's always so bad. This is going to be the thing. It's going to be great. And then obviously we get strapped. Some crisis occurs where we get strapped for cash. We have to bail out. We have to do some sort of, here we are doing, like fucking stimulus checks, but we have to do some sort of economic recollection. We have to bounce back economically. And then it's always, we're going to create new laws to make it so that, and those laws always have the fine print that make it so that stuff like this happens. So every time this cycle comes around, the burden gets placed more and more on us to somehow piece together a living wage. And I mean, I feel like the last Saturn-Uranus, if we're at the final square, then perhaps at the opposition was when like the gig economy started, and when things like Lyft and Uber started forcing independent contractors. Like this has been, we're like, oh my God, this is so crazy. No, this is little by little been just snuck in and implemented every time this crisis occurs. And it's so that it's our fault. It's our fault that we're poor. Yeah. It's our fault that we're desperate. It's our fault that we are burnt out. It's our fault that we somehow. It's our fault that we don't have enough jobs, and it's our fault that we have to have that many jobs. Like
And we have to revisit, like, I think that's why we're super revisiting universal basic income, and it's just like, how do you, because of how many, I mean, like, that's a really great example that you brought up about Uber and Lyft drivers. I mean, what started happening were so many taxi drivers started killing themselves.
Because all
it was really horrible.
All the medallions and then dangled them over people's heads, selling a medallion for like millions of dollars. Yeah, knowing that the people who need them will never have that money in their lifetime. Yeah, but just for sport, I'm gonna buy up all these medallions because I can. Because wouldn't that be fun? What is wrong with the world that we enjoy cruelty? Yeah,
and so it's wild. Also it renders their own debt to their own medallion completely.
They can never pay
nothing. Yeah, because now they have all of this competition that they didn't have before, and they aren't making nearly as much money. And a medallion is like $1 million, so like they have to spend their whole life.
And there's only a limited number of them, and when they're all purchased for that time, that's
exactly. So these are things where you can't really tell someone, well, you just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And if you'd have only developed more skills, it's like, but that skill is there. Why should that person have to develop other skills when that skill was there?
Probably developed skills in their home country and then moved here and were not allowed to use those skills. And were told they could only do this. And you have to do this.
Yeah, there's those people, and then there's those people who make great livings. It doesn't matter. Either way, you do not take if that is something that is getting phased out, there needs to be safety nets that are better than what we actually have. This is ridiculous. This is not something where someone is going, oh, well, I just didn't want to do something. It's like, no, come on. Like, this is an available skill that if you are now like this is where universal basic income needs to come in. Like that's what needs to happen. It just needs to be a blanketed thing that catches people. We pay enough in taxes to make that happen.
We do, but we're still talking about this like this isn't the part of the plan, which is to literally just oppress and phase out groups of people until they stop. Until they stop. Like, let's literally make conditions so unlivable and impossible that you have no choice. You're going to fall off the face of the earth. You're going to succumb to the pressures of being here. You're going to
it
not
doesn't
be able
matter.
to pay your bills. We're just going to literally squeeze you against the wall until you pop. And then you don't have to deal with you poor people anymore. Then we finally get to have, honestly though, like
for real though.
science.
It doesn't matter. The lower down,
this is a real notion.
The lower down it is, the more of us there are. Yeah, there's just a lot of us. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us in tax brackets. They look at us in tax brackets. And it's like, if you make this amount, this is your value, because this is what most people are, and we can replace most people because these are skills that we feel that anybody could do. And that's what's so fucked up is you're lumping like teachers into this.
Teachers,
like you're lumping like fucking nurses,
literally,
like you're like really lumping some essential people like into this no one category.
Yeah, and even, back to the idea of essential being so just derogatory. Like the idea of being essential and non-essential as a human is just so wild.
It's so wild. That's so, maybe that's also like this Taurus with Uranus and Taurus and maybe that kind of new moon experience this year is like just really our burnt out feelings. It's just our burnt out, like we don't have much left.
I think that's
to give. I just want to eat some cake. I just want to do my nails. Like
I no longer have enough fucks to keep pretending like this job that I show up for that pays me literally trash is my life. I've reached the end.
I'm so tired.
Reached the end. I can no longer, I think that's the collective feeling. It's like I can no longer lie to myself about. And that's because something broke and we had enough time to experience it broken to see just how broken it is. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So that's for sure some Taurus energy, 1,000%. But it's true. This idea that yes, we have to laugh, otherwise we die. But I love this moment, and maybe that what I was saying earlier about like all of the Gemini energy made me expect this to be a much more like lively, popping off moon, and that feels conditional too. That feels like what I expect Gemini energy to be, or like what I think this is doing in Taurus. And it's like, no, I'm actually just learning to listen to my body, like realizing my body is part of the earth, and like the earth says stuff. And maybe that's I just bought a bunch of plants because I have a new apartment, and so I've been like,
this is your new moon and Taurus experience.
It's really like my god,
your little
plant. Check your soil, and you're talking to me, and like when you're thirsty, you tell me, and when you're not, then you're getting
your little outdoor jungle,
right? And like it's up to me to like ask, and then you're gonna tell me, and then like we're gonna have we have all that. But it is
a relationship going on.
We do. It's true. Like you're gonna talk to me, and like I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna take it. It's gonna be great. But that same, it does feel like that expectation is some of the, and I think we keep coming back to this. I'm always like, every time, we always talk about capitalism and our programming and like our conditioning, and then I hit some surprise where I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was still some conditioning in my brain, but like that's expecting me to be all the way over there right now.
Yes,
it started.
It's so real.
So that makes me, it's that feeling. I'm like, oh, I expected that we would all be pressured to like do all this stuff, and I'm like, oh no, we're still unlearning. Okay, great. And if anything, that is what the Mercury in Gemini through June 22nd, and Venus ruling this new moon from Taurus, from Gemini as well, I feel like that is the point of all of this reprogramming. And the North Node is like, we're still unlearning so many things. Like, these squares are shaking everything
Totally.
up. These squares are showing us what we've realized is broken in everything breaking. There's still so much that has to rot and break down first before we have all the answers. And so in the interim, what are the questions that we're asking, right?
I think that's when we talk. I mean, we brought it up once or twice about Pluto entering Aquarius. I think that's when we're really going to see like what's at the bottom of the candle wax, you know, like what's at the bottom of like what is this, you know, because I mean that's like another 20-year long trip. Right? Yeah. So I mean it's gonna swing in and then swing out and then swing back into Capricorn, right? And so and then it's like it's just like this weird straddle moment of like, all right, where are we going? What's happening? What are we, you know, kind of like Saturn going into Aquarius. And we have to talk about Jupiter and Pisces.
Oh my God.
Yes.
What a week
swinging
we
into
have.
Pisces for a moment before it retrogrades as well.
We have Jupiter moving into Pisces on Thursday, Jupiter's day, which has no other transits except for the moon in Gemini, I think hitting the North Node and then hitting Mercury and maybe one other thing. Maybe squaring Neptune in that, which is really interesting because that's going to be interesting. It's like, oh, you're going to square Neptune and all that. But that's going to be dope as hell. And we have Jupiter in Pisces through July, and then Jupiter is going to go retrograde back into the end degrees of Aquarius. And then finally enter Pisces for good in December, I believe.
It should be close to the end of the year. Yeah.
I'm going to have my Jupiter return.
I know.
How's your Jupiter return going, by the way?
It's good. Like this is a very straight. What?
Yours is strange, like mine's gonna be strange because yours is during your 12th house perfection, right?
And a pandemic
year. The 8th in your solar return, and that's gonna be me next year. My sun is gonna be in the 8th with my 12th house perfection and Jupiter returning, and the 12th house perfection will be ruled by Jupiter, which is gonna be so bizarre. No more 8th house transits. Goodbye. I'm gonna cast a spell for you. You got it.
It's good, but I will say it's very interesting being like during this time of such abnormality of like seeing like Jupiter's sort of luck magic working, but like in like a, you know, holding on to everything kind of way, you know. It's like I'm still living where I you know have always been. I can you know, I've been living on my own for a while, which has been what I want ultimately, but like, you know, it's just all these, it's not all set in stone yet. So it's like Jupiter is like even if it's all this sort of just basically saying at this point in time, Vanessa, you're going to be very lucky. So like just chill here.
It's interesting. I wonder if for us in Sad Astrology Club with all of our planets in detriment. I wonder.
We are not taking applications yet. We're still crying over our
like we're still
coping with our own sun.
Holding on to it, but I feel like it's interesting to have a Jupiter return during such a strange transit, and maybe that's like its sense of luck. Where like if someone had more planets in domicile or like just a more straightforward chart, it would be like Jupiter returning is like, I'm gonna hit the jackpot, or like my product went big. But like for us having all these detrimental planets, it's like, oh, it's literally protecting me during a 12th house perfection.
Yes, it's like, don't worry, you won't die.
Like you're gonna keep me from dying. Is what it's
exactly. But what's the bigger picture? That you're alive, bitch. That's the bigger picture.
The bigger picture is that you just did a crazy transformation in which you shed a bunch of karma and you managed to survive. And now you're on like an even playing field with everyone else. That's what you get from your Jupiter return. You're like, okay.
It's literally a I kept a roof over your head, food on your plate.
Exactly. Like shit is hitting the fan and you have no idea what's happening, but you're okay.
But you're fine.
You're gonna be okay.
Right.
You have to coast through this.
It's so true. That's how it feels. So it's like, I feel like I'm like, okay,
respect
like
that.
I'm very, and my solar return was pretty blessed in that way too, with the
Yeah.
the trines and sextiles. So I was like, okay, I feel like this Jupiter return, it also is within seconds trine my sun. So Jupiter. So it's that much. It's like, it feels like an
That's
extra
fun.
level of protection. It's like if I have just one level of protection where I'm like, you know, I'm graceful throughout the world in certain ways, right?
Yes.
Like this was like you're gonna need more, my friend. That's not gonna get you.
1,000%. Oh my God. It's real. It's so real. Okay,
So
Jupiter in Pisces. Oh my God.
Yes.
I mean,
In
what a
domicile.
vibe. What a vibe. What we haven't had this since I believe 2011. It was like January 2011, end of 2010, something around there. So interesting to start thinking about. I mean, there's so many things this year that are sort of pulling back things from the past, which I guess is life overall.
Yeah.
Because the Saturn-Uranus square, this is the final one of this cycle. So we haven't, we had the opposition in what's time? 2008, I think. Is that right? Oh my God. I don't know. So we're having these, like,
I don't know what year it is right now.
I know what time it is.
I have no help.
So we're clearly having these periods from the past come back. So 2010, 2011, 2008 or so, we're looking at, like, what were we even
What's going
doing
on?
then?
What did I do?
And yeah, what good was happening then too? Absolutely. Because it is Jupiter in Pisces, it's Jupiter in its own domicile. It is Jupiter Jupiter's been very busy the past couple of years, moving through its sign.
Yes.
With Saturn.
With that stellium and shit and like that.
Yeah.
Whole,
Like Jupiter's had to.
And then the great
Saturn
conjunction and then.
Years now. It's been, I mean, okay, 2 years, but that's still a long time for Jupiter, who's really kind of used to like a few months at a time. Like, hey, cool, yeah, bye, see ya, got places to go and offerings to receive and blessings to give and all that.
Right.
Just the babies. So it is this interesting. Even I've been like, what happened in 2011? But I think it's really cool to look back at sort of what synchronicities maybe occurred then. What sort of magic was opening up. Jupiter in Pisces is so just big and expansive and mystical, right? This whole, I'm thinking about if things were, okay, I love thinking about the benefics in Pisces because it's really about, like, if things were perfect, what would we be doing? Like, if things were just, if we had utopia, then what would we do? And I feel like that feels very Jupiter in Pisces. Like, if I were, I mean, think about it. If Jupiter gets to return home to the most, like, idealistic and dreamy and fantasizing, and everyone gets, you know, everyone's okay.
Everyone gets a lollipop.
Great.
Everyone gets.
If Jupiter gets to return to utopia, then what are we going to do to celebrate? Like, I don't know. I think about that time and I'm like, yeah, that's when I joined a band. That was awesome. And I was like, right.
That's so funny you say that. I got my first, well, I've been like what you were saying, working in the food industry in all sorts of ways, but it was the first time I got a job at a jazz club, and jazz was like my absolute.
That was okay.
Right. 2010.
I didn't know that's when that happened.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
I was
cool.
similarly
And music, Pisces.
in my bakery, not mine, my bakery. Oh my God. Wait, this is so funny because I worked with this person. I worked at this bakery in like Los Feliz, and this girl came in and was like, I feel like you play music. And I was like, I do. I play bass. And she was like, we need a bassist. My sister and I are in a band. And I was like, that's awesome because I play bass and I would love to be in a band. And then we were in a band and it was great. So it's just this sort of like, if things were ideal, like what could happen? What beautiful sort of just like fantasies could emerge? What vibrance could we embody? Like what what could we make if everything was chill? I mean, what a thing to imagine. What could we do if everything was fucking chill?
I feel like we should briefly go through the houses really quickly with Jupiter freaking Pisces, because what would be the fantasy of someone of
Oh
it coming through
gosh,
that
what
house?
would be the fantasy?
That would
Oh
be incredible.
boy.
We'll do it quick, but I think it would be kind of
Yes, I
cool.
love this. Okay, lots of creative collaborations and traveling with different.
Yeah.
That sounds utopian as hell.
Yes. Creativity, anything is utopian.
As communities. That's beautiful. That sounds idealistic and utopian as fuck. Okay, houses, absolutely. I feel like I'm gonna jump in with my third house because that's what I was talking about. So I feel like there's music brimming. So Jupiter returning to the third house in Pisces may be like a lot of communication, a lot of things that you're ready to share with people. You might be like, I've been quiet this whole time and this is what I've been doing. And so I'm ready. In a perfect world, I'd love to show you what I've made, and please be an audience to my creations. But yes, I'm particularly feeling very like musically inclined, and like lots of like melodies are kind of popping into my head, and I've been like,
wow,
we're gonna make some music. So that's what I'm thinking about the third house. Lots of like divine ideas, and maybe no one to tell you that they're silly or that they are impractical or that there's no time for them. Potential music making. Gosh, that really also seems like a tour of the town. Like, I'm really becoming I'm gonna go become someone in my neighborhood.
Someone else. Hello.
I'm gonna start like, hello,
Yeah.
yes, I'm the, yes, it is me.
Yes. Yes.
I would like a coffee, please. Yeah. Like a local celebrity kind of vibe. Absolutely. This like,
I love that.
To just be like a star in my town. I get to be a star.
I love that.
I want to jump to your house. What house is where's your, eighth house. Oh my.
It will be, and whole sign 8th. You know what? I think based on like the things that I'm waiting for, or at least I'm hoping that it has to do with, in an ideal world of funding from something outside of me. So it's like,
I like that. Yes.
Correct.
You're like,
so it's joint resources.
Money.
Yeah, committed money. There's an application coming out soon for the rent relief that was passed all over America, and there's one coming out soon for New York City. So if I get it, I think it will be at the time that Jupiter has swung into Pisces, and that'll be the first time it's like at least dipping its toe in the energy of my 8th house.
Nice.
So yeah, so I think it's like I think now I'm starting to like think about things in my mind of what I want to like get that would make my house look pretty, and I'm like, I can't get it yet because like it's not like nothing's fine.
You're like,
it's like I found
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm gonna get a lazy Susan that we talked about. I want to get that. And I'm gonna put candles on it, and it's gonna sit on my freaking dining room table, and I'm gonna like actually decorate things in here. Just like give me the money, just secure me.
Money, give it to me. Totally, that's so real. Absolutely. Stacey, your natal Jupiter is your Jupiter is in the 9th house in Taurus. Wait a minute. I don't feel like that's right.
No, Taurus is all your 4th house, I think. Or no, Pisces. She's a Pisces, right?
Yeah, Pisces, right? Yeah. So Jupiter will be entering your first
third, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's gonna be fun. I feel like all the Pisces risings get a round of applause.
Yes.
Good for you. Good for you. You're doing
enjoy.
Great. You've had Neptune in your first house for years. You have watched yourself dissolve. You have become completely like shrouded in a fog of who you are and what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. Your sense of boundaries has probably completely dissolved. You may, if you had any to begin with as a Pisces rising, because
yes.
So this is like really nice. This is really nice. Although last week we talked about Jupiter returning to Pisces, and Justin brought up the chaos that may ensue when Jupiter and Neptune conjoin. I'm like, what is that gonna mean? So that's gonna be really interesting. That won't be until Well, honestly, Jupiter actually moves into Aries in, I want to say, April. So it's we have half of the Pisces, the Jupiter Pisces return this year, or like a third of it, and then we get the last like 5 months of it next year.
Yeah, but it's gonna be after it's retrograde. It'll go to Neptune, because I know around in my birthday it's
sense.
at 22 degrees. I just looked at my solar return. I just got my new honeycomb book, and so
nice. Yes.
My next solar return, I'm already there. I'm already needing, but it was at like 22 degrees Aquarius, so it's probably going to be closer to December. Or I mean, well, December is when it crosses back over into Pisces in the first place.
So Jupiter enters Pisces on Thursday, stays there, only makes it to like
2 degrees or something.
Full degree, right? It's like
it's like 2
through July,
like 1 degrees,
and then it retrogrades back to like 20. Was it 25 or so? Did you say?
No, past there. I think because it's 22 on my birthday, so I guess it's like 20 or something.
And then it's gonna So we get 5 months of. I think it's 5 months or so of Jupiter in Pisces next year.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see something leading up to that conjunction. So I'm curious if we like pick up on it before it happens. Because that is that retrograde feeling of like we're not fully letting. It's like it takes time to build up certain things. It takes time to. So I'm curious what expansion of it could be our delusions, or it could be our fantasies of something greater. Like.
So Neptune has been all up on your Jupiter, and then your Jupiter return is going to be very close to Neptune too. That's going to be so fascinating. Oh my God.
Fascinating.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to have to check in with you in a few months and talk about how this feels, because I have so many questions.
That is very fascinating.
So yeah, Jupiter entering Pisces. This feels like such a beautiful... okay, so first house, we're talking about like a sense of self really maybe emerging from this deep fog, right, that has transpired. Neptune's been in your first house for years. Perhaps you're having this like triumphant return of self, especially having had Jupiter in its detriment in your 11th house. Maybe you had some friendships or communities that didn't serve you or that fell apart. Sad Girl Astrology Club is real. Yes, please inquire in the DMs. We have
to come up with rules and regulations, because we don't want anybody in this club
with several detriment.
We need you sad.
Detriment or fall.
You gotta be sad.
You have to be sad about your chart. Like you have to really be coming in.
A Mars retrograde may get you to the front of line, but like
that can work. But like we're really looking for like the sun in fall. Mars and we're looking for multiple planets.
Yes.
Detriment and fall.
Yes.
In order to apply. So please check your chart.
We'll come up with a list soon. Don't worry.
Reach out. Yes,
we'll come up with that.
But yeah, with Jupiter moving into the first house for Pisces risings, it actually feels very Six of Wands, this sort of like celebration of self. Like, here I am. This is what I've been through.
Yeah.
I've had Jupiter in my 12th house. I've been figuring out all these mysteries of the world. Now I'm ready to like kind of come out here and just be the mystery. Like, I'm going to be the utopia. I like that. Y'all are going to be the utopia that we want to see in the world. So go.
Yes.
That sounds
like projecting it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, if the world was perfect, who would I be? I'm going to go be that. Right?
Yes.
I'm going to embody that. Second house.
And then the second house, I think it's like an expansion of, or like an acknowledgement of your many talents, or an expansion of your talents, So if like the 8th house is where you kind of have this, your resources are kind of coming from another place, because it's like you and something else combining. The second house is like, this is the resources that I actually have. This is how I'm powerful without anyone else, And
in Pisces, that's like so ubiquitous. That's so many.
Yeah.
It could be
so there might be something in your talent or whatever it is that you do that either you expand upon, or you decide to go further with, or maybe you step into a new experience with. I mean, Jupiter also coincides with that Sagittarian experience of like, I want to be a part of the story. I don't want to just, read about the story. I want to actually go experience the story.
I like that.
So you might have something where you step into another level of your abilities and see what else you can do, and not just maybe like think about it or listen to it or wonder about it. It might be like the first time you really do it.
I like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That Pisces feeling of like kind of seeing all of maybe these various seemingly unrelated talents or skills suddenly having a thread that connects all of them, that kind of makes it like, oh, and this is the umbrella that really like kind of covers all the things I do, and now I'm seeing this bigger picture, since Pisces is so big picture, about like what I can do with all of this, and like what are the threads and what do I want them to. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did third house. Fourth house.
Yes.
I love a Pisces IC. That feels like my story is tied to the story.
Yeah. Like or to artists too, to like, like my story is said through something beyond just words.
Yes. Right? I love that. I'm connected to something universal. So there may be you know, in my Vedic reading, in my Vedic chart, Jupiter's in the fourth, and so he was telling me that Jupiter is something that's such a big energy that's used to being out and external, but it's in a private space. So it's like Jupiter at home is like, what am I doing here? Like, no one's, who's celebrating me? I don't understand. So it gives me very like, I don't know, it's an interesting perspective, and I was like, that gives me very stay-at-home dad vibes. Like, culturally speaking, dads are supposed to want to be out in the workforce and like blah blah blah, and more dads are like, I want to be celebrated by these tiny people. I would like people. So like, that's the love I need right now. I want my family to love me. So I love the idea of a transit of Jupiter moving to the fourth and sort of figuring out like, who do I love feeling connected to, maybe, or like what in my family feels bigger than me that I want to connect to? Who in my family loves me, and like, who do I really want to connect to in like an intimate Piscean big picture kind of way?
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah, like, what do I connect to here? I don't know.
You could even expand upon your roots in some way. Like maybe there's like this, like maybe there's this celebration or something about like where everybody's from, or from like, you know, a deepening of your understanding of where you're from, and more pride maybe around it, or totally.
Ooh, and maybe that's getting a home.
So fifth house.
Maybe that's like getting a home as well.
Yeah.
Like, I love my family so much that we're like getting this space.
That would make sense.
Anyway,
with Jupiter's like house. Yes. Or at least you would be devising the plan. Like, at least that this would be like a, hey, I think this would be a great idea. And then Saturn would probably help construct it. But like Jupiter's like, if we had the most like ideal place that we live in, right?
World, we would have this space to do these things. Yeah.
So then in the fifth house, I think that's like maybe some people are expanding their businesses or expanding their, you know, maybe especially anybody who did well in the pandemic. Like there's a new a gardening shop down the street because everybody and their mother bought plants.
Yes.
You know? So like planting industry just like skyrocketed.
I like that you said gardening, because it really is like a heart, like a love that you're something that you're offering. That fifth house is like how I express my love language, like my love language. My love language.
It also could be like maybe expanding your love, like you said, like maybe it could be, I mean, depending on many other things, but maybe you do meet other people or flirt at least, or feel like a little bit more flirtatious, or a little bit more ready to take a leap, right? Because it's a leap of faith. So it's like, this is where I'm like, okay, I don't know, maybe this is the one, or you know,
in an ideal world. My love would look like this, or like what I offer would come out this way. What I how I like what I express.
And then Jupiter gives us that ability to do it. Like so many of us let these moments pass us by because, you know, we're nervous about the outcome or how we'll be seen. And Jupiter is like, you can do it.
We'll work on the details later. Just show up and smile.
Go on.
You know, like
just
charm them.
A wink and a nudge
right now. And it's gonna be really fun.
So find your fifth house Pisces. You might find yourself flirting more, or being the one to ask somebody else out on a date when you're like, you know, well, why do I have to wait for them? I should ask myself, you know.
Yeah, right. Like, why not? Yeah, definitely. Ooh, definitely like a gambler's position. Like, I want to. Also, watch out for gambling though. Like, don't actually gamble.
Oh yeah, no, that is the thing. Yeah, because it can make you feel much luckier than you actually are.
Right. That sixth house, that's very interesting. You have a natal sixth house Aquarius.
I
what
do.
Does that feel like? Is that sort of
I think that
an abundance of work? Is that like?
Yeah, I think it's like you have to, I mean, it's where maybe a new project has come in and you have to conceptualize the smaller steps of it. So you have to kind of go from like a larger picture to a small picture and then kind of reach the larger picture. So some people might be considering maybe going back to school, and maybe they're preparing in certain ways, and so they have to kind of figure out their path with it. So where do you want to be at the end of 4 years, and what would be the construction of your credits, or the way that you would go, you know? And like, so I think that it's like maybe anybody with Pisces 6th house, you might get a project, or you might have your own need for an organizing of something larger, like your day, you know? It's like that's larger than just 1 hour. So I think it's like when you want to figure out how to organize larger pictures into bite-sized goals and steps to get to achieve. Yeah.
Right. I like that. Okay, breaking down a big thing into smaller things to figure out how to get to a big thing. I like that.
Yes.
And then the 7th house, that feels very much like I'm gonna meet the love of my life. I'm about to meet somebody great.
Right?
I'm about to meet in an ideal world.
Let's get that ring.
I would have the romance of my dreams. I would have, I mean, a Pisces 7th house sounds very romantic.
Yes.
Just that, like, I'm gonna finally meet the person who, like, strangely checks all my boxes, or like, you know, who, like,
it could be an engagement too.
Idealistic, maybe, but like someone's gonna fit. Someone has to. There are 9 billion of us. Yeah. Right? Like someone has to fit in this box. Someone has to like.
Yes. Well, and also I feel like maybe some people have their weddings or their engagements at this time. I mean, if you saw anything like physical show up. Yeah. Exactly. Your fantasy wedding, or the way you envisioned asking the person to marry you, you know, and so it's like it's
a big
carriage
and the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Right.
And like the sky has got to look like this. I only want a couple of clouds in the sky, and like perfect temperature, perfect this, perfect that.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then 8th we already did. We did my 8th house.
Yeah, we talked about 8th house a bit, and other people's money, getting that money. I like.
Come on now, that's all. We don't need to talk about anything else.
That's me next year, and I'm like, all right, full return. Bring me that money. This means I'm gonna make something that people like, right? Okay, and everyone's gonna want it. Okay, great.
Come on, baby.
Okay. Ninth house. That feels very classic. That's very like I'm going to go back to school, or I'm going to.
Right.
I'm revisiting my religious affiliations. Yeah. I'm considering that. I mean, I also think of the 9th house as social media. So it's like I'm thinking about my message and what it is that I share with people. Who is it that who am I trying to connect with? Now I'm going to find my people, my people. I'm going to be seen out here in some capacity. But yeah, that definitely feels like going back to school, or finding luck with a group of people you want to think collectively with, right? Yeah. That's really what those spaces are. It's like, who's out there talking about stuff that I care about, and what can I, yes.
Play this midterm and final level.
Nailing that school. Nailing that schoolwork. Yes, absolutely. Lorraine killing it. So yeah, we're definitely looking at someone who is that may be someone who's like, ooh, also traveling. We're finally gonna, depending on whatever your vaccine status is, and depending on where you're going, we're gonna start traveling again. That might be someone who's like, finally, I am able to embark on this journey that I've been planning. I was afraid we were gonna have to cancel it. Now I get to go. I'm gonna go see them. I'm gonna go see them in the world. I'm gonna connect with people.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I love that. I love that. Expanding what your message is, like you said, it's like expanding the story. Like, there comes a time, if you want to be influential in any kind of way, you have to be able to express your beliefs in a way that you feel totally that you're standing behind. And so that's different than just ingesting information. So like you said, you could figure out, like, maybe you want a certificate or just more education in some kind of way, but you're ready to step into that more. I mean, even like going for a yoga certification, or going for anything that just allows you to express it to other people, rather than just like the 3rd house learning it or taking it in, and having a more well, surface, but like on a more topical conversation about it, where this is like, okay, well, what is the wisdom we found in it, and how do we go deeper into it, and how then do we
Yeah,
teach
what's
it
the
to
moral
someone
of
else?
this? What's the
Yeah,
what can we boil this down to? Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
And then 10th
10th.
house, good on you. I hope this means that you are getting the job opportunities of your dreams in utopia. Oh my god, this is my girlfriend's midheaven. I'm gonna pray for her right now. Please give her the job of her dreams. Like this is like I am finally like getting that career recognition. I'm finally getting the opportunities that because
Yeah,
again, utopia in a perfect world, this is what I would be doing. I don't want to deal with people. I want to work with dogs. This is my girlfriend. I don't want to do. I don't want to bargain anymore. I
yeah,
like to work with dogs because dogs are great. That may be where those things start falling into place in a perfect world. This is not a perfect world for anyone who's looking for a job. So to have Jupiter move into your house, good job. That's amazing. This may be the moment where you like come across that luck in terms of what it is you really want to be doing, and it's probably compassionate too. Pisces is all about
yeah,
compassion and wanting to work in a perfect world. And so maybe
yeah,
Jupiter brings you those opportunities at long last and you're able to do what's spiritually in line for you and not
yeah. And I feel like
for
this
work
is
that doesn't
a
feel
time
good.
where you'd be taken seriously, you know, like your
Be,
big vision idea
yes,
would be taken seriously. Where
right.
it's like, you know, since the 10th house is a constructive house, meaning, you know, we want to invest in your leadership, or like how you show up to the world and how everybody views you in this world.
Mm,
And so when Jupiter comes in, a lot of times Capricorn or Saturn can look at Jupiter and be like, okay, great, that's a great idea, but like,
right.
how are we going to do it? And the
Oh,
10th
sure.
house is like,
I like that.
tell me
Yeah.
more. We may
Right,
be
right.
able to
Like,
do
oh
this.
my god, that sounds dope. Yes, we have the
That
funding for that.
sounds
And I am
interesting.
totally on board for this wild
Right.
idea. I love that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
And then
11th
Jupiter
house.
moves the 11th. That's Jupiter's joy. Jupiter loves moving to the 11th. Jupiter loves
Yes.
being in the 11th house. I'm going to be seen by my communities. I'm going to find the causes that I really care about,
Yes.
especially in a
Expanding your
2021
network.
world. Exactly. I'm going to figure out what it is that I'm committed to. I'm going to commit to and give to that. I'm
Yeah.
going to be seen by my communities. I'm going to be recognized. My hopes and dreams, that's the hopes and dreams house.
Yes.
That's real utopia. That's some real in a perfect world
Yeah.
shit. In a perfect world, community would look like this, and then I'm gonna make it
Yeah.
happen, and then I'm gonna be seen for making it happen. So that sounds dope as hell.
Yeah. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
also, I would imagine anybody going to like functions and things like that, where they're not only are getting to know people more, but it's like you are also one of those people because it's the 11th house, right? So
Card
it's like,
carrying
yeah,
member
right.
of this club.
Like you're already in the club, you're in the group, you're in the everything, and now you're like enjoying, you know, the time.
Totally.
Right? Like,
yes, shaking hands and kissing
yeah.
babies. Yes, absolutely. I am the
We're all
president.
going that way. Like, okay, we're going that way.
Right. Follow the yes.
Right? Yeah.
And then the 12th
totally.
house for you Aries risings. That sounds like something beautiful. I mean, I feel like Jupiter going through the 12th is very much opening up the spiritual vessel to the universe. When Jupiter moved through my 12th house, when it was in Sagittarius 2 years ago, that was when I found hypnosis. So that was when that whole year was like I had my first hypnosis session, and I fell in love with hypnosis, and then I took my first class, and then I signed up for the whole shebang, and then I went through the whole course, and then I became certified as hypnotist.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's such a Jupiter in 12th house.
Yes, it is. It's like a subconscious love or a hidden blessing.
And in its own house, in its own sign, right?
Yes.
That's sad where it's like, what are we gonna learn now?
And it brings optimism in that house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a big connection to, well, what does it all mean? And like, what does it all mean to? And that may be
very resilient person. Yeah.
Yeah.
With a Jupiter natal.
Of like compassion opening. Perhaps you start seeing the world in a different way. Start seeing your connection to things in a different way. Honestly, like having a Pisces 12th house, if it's healthy, feels like you're able to find magic in anything. You're like, I can see like everything that I'm looking at, even if I don't understand it, or even if it's bigger than I'll ever be able to grasp, I'm able to find something magical here
Yeah.
about this. And I feel like Jupiter moving through there is very much like a, especially because if you're an Aries rising, you had Mars retrograde in your first house last year. So you're probably on like a, what are we doing?
You're ready.
What are we doing?
You're ready.
What am I supposed to, what?
Yeah.
So then Jupiter moving to the 12th sort of being this refresher course of like, okay, yes, you've been frustrated. Yep. I know.
Yeah.
But let's just remember what it's all about. Let's remember what the big picture is. Let's remember why you want to be here, or like what it is you see in the world that's just yours.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm reminded of the Temperance card, and how like sometimes when Jupiter is in the 12th house, it can act sort of like an angel and sort of like a blessing.
Right.
Right. Of like where, since the 12th house is the house where it's your subconscious. You can't see anything. It's not a space where, right? Like hypnosis, you weren't thinking about it before. It just sort of came to the forefront of your mind. You were like, whoa, I would really love that. And then you moved into it and you loved it. And that's that Jupiter experience, right? Yeah. Of like, I'm going to send you a blessing into your life that makes you feel more in connection with your everyday life. It's going to make you understand yourself more. It's going to make you feel more grounded here. It's going to make you feel safer here. Yeah. And I think that's where we not misjudge. I think we need to kind of like build a better bridge between what we believe are, so that sort of angelic blessing of like, it's not necessarily always just like saving you from like Deus Ex Machina, like saving you from some catastrophe. It's also that those places where we have to be grateful for these little things that happen, because they really were these huge blessings in our life. And that is that sort of angelic like touch of, from the divine, something that's just for you, something that makes you feel good, that connects you to you. And so that might be why that kind of thing came up. But I have that for my solar return this year. And I'm like, wow, it's been really interesting to feel like, I feel like even if I'm nervous and I'm burnt out, I haven't ever really felt like it was all going to go to shit. And I just think that that's also that feeling with Jupiter in the 12th, is there's this underlying optimism and faith in life that wherever you're going, wherever you're trying to go, you'll get there eventually. Yeah. And even then, even when you get there, it's like, it's the journey that matters. It's the journey that really counts, And I think those are the most optimistic people. Yeah. I feel like those people who like bringing over some seriously awesome karma from a last life, like they like saved someone's life or something, or like, so like, and they just like got a huge pass this lifetime on mental health,
Oh my God. Yeah. I love that. Round of applause for you. You saved someone in your past life, and now you get blessed.
Yay! Good for you.
Not
you get all the gold stars.
Go home. No. You're doing great. I'm really proud of you. You're doing great.
Yes.
Good job.
You're not allowed in the sad club, though. You're not at all.
But you're doing
Anyone
great.
who has Jupiter in their 12th house is never getting into the sad club. I'm so sorry. I don't care what squares you've got going to Jupiter, my friend.
But I stand behind it.
This could be revised, but as it stands now, that's what.
Oh my God. I love it. Oh, all right, y'all. This is such a lovely, sleepy Taurus new moon. I hope you all get rest. Thank you for being here. I hope that Jupiter entering Pisces on Thursday is just delightful for everyone. Everyone sleep. We will see you next Tuesday, and then we're going to be on a 2-week hiatus. And after that, we will come back and celebrate not only our 1-year anniversary, but our 50th episode, which is wild. So stay tuned, because that's going to be a blast. And it's all because of you, because y'all are here and hanging out with us. And we would just be talking to each other if you weren't here. So thank you.
Yeah. Which is great. But we do that on Mondays. So,
we do. We already do this constantly. But it's great to get to do it with y'all. Oh, what was that smile for? Because I have an evil plan. No, I don't know. I'm just evil. Where are we going? I'm going to the dentist, and Vanessa is going home.
Louisville, yeah. I'm going to go to Louisville for a week.
Some local and some far.
See my family.
Yes, some 3rd house, 9th house stuff for us. Just some real.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So y'all are amazing. See you next week. We'll probably start talking about eclipse season. the
I'm ready to see that energy shift. I'm really interested because I have trines and sextiles, so I'm ready. I already went through my Cancer Capricorn.
This is a full moon eclipse in my 12th house, y'all. So
right?
I don't know.
Give it to my son. I want my
know.
sun sign. I'm ready for my son to get a trine.
I don't know.
So ready.
Happy new moon. Y'all are beautiful.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Thanks for sharing your charts and your hearts.